Good morning. Well, it's morning here. It's a chilly November morning here in Portland, Oregon, and I've had a request to go through and identify the parts of the fuel injection system. So in a second, we're going to go back and I'll show you my engine and what I have in it. One problem we have, I don't know if you can hear it, is I'm pretty close to a busy street, and I tried to get out here early to kind of mitigate the noise, but if gets a little noisy, I'm sorry. That's usually why I do videos inside the van with the door shut. Anyways, please like and subscribe. We're trying to get more subscribers. It's small now, which is great. I don't intend to have a big channel. I just want to get monetized, so I have a little extra money for gas to go places and buy parts and make better videos. So here we go. We're going to go to the back and show you the parts of the fuel injection. Alright, so we're here at the back of the van, and I've got it opened up, and I've got my Bentley turned to the page with the wonderful diagram of what we're going through. This is a diagram on page 24.2 of the whole fuel injection system. Now, that's one thing you need, one thing you'll hear on the forums, on the Samba all the time is get a Bentley. Get a Bentley, and it's not just the Bentley, it's the right one, and this is the air-cooled Bentley. So there's our fuel injection system, and with this book and a multimeter and a few simple tools, you can test everything in the fuel injection system. All right, one of the sad things I thought when I got this in 2004 is everybody thought it was complicated and junk, which is both are totally untrue. This is the L-Jetronic system, I guess they call it, and it was on several different cars. I learned all about it from 280Zs from Datsuns. They had basically the same system, just two more fuel injection. There was a 6-cylinder, a straight 6, but that motor was almost bulletproof. This little motor is not. You got to have everything right with this, or you'll drop a seat. So let's get started with what everything is. Alright, here's where the air comes in. This is your air intake, and you see how it's going over here into this vent over here, the big vents on the side here. Those are important to cooling the engine, but it's taking cold air, fresh air from over here going into here. This is where your air filter is. This right here is your airflow meter. This has a big flap in there, and when that moves, it's telling how much air is your engine's wanting and getting. Down into here, this is a big L valve, not a valve, elbow, and it's made of rubber, and some of these things can really be old, so if you just get it, one thing you need to do is take this off and check it for cracks. It can crack under the bottom here where you can't see it, and that'll give you a big vacuum leak and your van won't run right. Okay, that goes into here. This is your throttle body. This is where your throttle, your gas pedal is connected. And it's got a big butterfly in it and lets air in it. These get old and they can leak. And they're really hard to get, so make sure yours works. This right here is your full throttle switch. When you go to full throttle, it just hits that and tells your fuel injection system it's at full throttle. This right here is what's called the plenum. And if you see, it's looks like a spider with only 4 legs. Those are going to your 4 cylinders. That's where your air comes from to go to your cylinders. I got hose clamps on here. Basically because these are old, you will see that a lot of them don't have clamps on them, and that's fine. That's the way they're supposed to be. But you can put clamps on them too, it doesn't hurt. And they basically go down into here. Your fuel injectors are here. Each one has a wire from your fuel injection harness. This is what's called the double relay. This down here is your fuel pressure regulator. This is your resistor pack, they call it. And this is both part of your fuel injection wiring harness. And if you see it, it's going all the way around here. Your wiring harness comes over to here. And this is your fuel injection brain, or your computer. It's not a smart computer. It doesn't run Windows. It's actually really kind of stupid. but you just need to have everything hooked up. What else we got in here? This is your aux air regulator, they call it. It's just a valve with a little bit more air in it when the fuel injection needs it. This right here is your cold start valve. That's actually just a fuel injector that when the fuel injection thinks it needs more fuel to start and cold and stuff, it pumps it right into the center here and it goes to all 4 cylinders. Underneath this plenum here, this thing's not too hard to get out. There's a screw underneath it that you got to get, but underneath there is a thing called the thermotime switch. I don't know if you can see the wire. The wire is right down here. That is a temperature sender, part of the fuel injection you need to check too. What else we got? Anything I'm leaving out here? Let me look on my diagram. Oh, the EGR valve. Okay. One thing I do not have, and if you see here this plate, that's the block off where the EGR valve was. EGR is exhaust gas recirculation. And what that was a way to pass EPA back in 1981. Now the reason I don't have one is because it has a filter on it, and even in 2004 when I had this, I couldn't get a filter for it. And what it does is it's a small tube that took some of the exhaust coming out of the exhaust that should have been going outside and ran it back through the engine to make it a little bit cleaner. Well, the problem with that is it needs a filter. It's not good to run the gas back or the exhaust back through because it's full of ash and all kinds of nasty stuff. So it needed a filter. Well, the filters were almost impossible to get. I guess there was some or something not too long ago I saw you could get them, but you had to change the filter every 10,000 miles, and if you didn't, it was really bad. So that's one reason I don't have it. It's not something you really need, but it's better to run it without it than a dirty filter or no filter at all. What else we got in here? That, I think, is all the... Okay, there's the decel valve here, and that just makes the car decelerate faster. Now one more thing, there's temp sender 2, and that is this tiny little wire right here. Okay, you see I've fixed the ends here on there to make sure it's nice and tight, but that goes down, I don't even know if you can see it, through a hole there, and that plugs into your head. Screws into your head down there. There's a spacer you have to have, and what that does is it tells the fuel injection if your motor is cold or not. Sometimes that teeny little wire breaks as they age. It's a resistor. As they age, they lose they don't work as well, so and then end up failing. So you have to make sure you have a good one of those. It's very hard to get to, but that is important in cold start. If your van cranks over fine, but it won't start when it's cold, or I mean when it's hot starting. Sorry, hot starting. If your van won't start when it's hot, then that would be the reason, or one of the reasons. Anyways, I think that's basically all we got for the fuel injection. Well, a couple little things here. See these hoses here? These are fuel hoses. That's when people tell you to change your fuel hoses. You want to change these, follow this all around, down to here, because there's a hose behind there. Over here where your pressure regulator is, there's a hose. There's a hose behind there. You want to make sure all these hoses, you basically change them all. There's hoses on the fuel injection here, but those are not clamped on down here, so you have to cut those off. But that's a whole nother video on changing the hoses. What I just wanted to do is get a quick overview of the parts, where they were, and what you should have on your fuel injected Vanagon. One last thing, is parts you should have are all the alternator parts here that go from this boot into the fan housing, the two tubes, and the two tubes going into the heat exchangers down there. Those are part of cooling the engine, and I probably will do a video on how the van is cooled. But I just wanted to do a quick overview of the parts you should have and what your engine compartment should pretty much look like. You won't have this. That is electronic fuel injection, or not fuel injection, electronic ignition. I replaced the points. That's a whole nother video there. But basically, this is what your engine compartment should look like if you have an air-cooled.